DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Those of y'all who follow my story, whether Snapchat story, Instagram story, y'all know I'm always showing you the buildings under construction, giving you that hashtag one day at a time. This, where I'm at right now, Brooklyn City Center, I remember watching this whole place get built. I remember when this was just a big empty lot. It wasn't even 10 years ago. I used to drive by here every day. Now it's might be the biggest attraction of this whole neighborhood, just because they showed up every day and did the work. So what I'm gonna tell you right now is 3 simple things you can do to make yourself feel like it, so you can show up and do your work, whatever your job happens to be, even when you don't feel like it. Because let's be honest, no matter how motivated, inspired you may be by yourself, by me, your job, by somebody else you heard, something gets you excited, none of us always feels like being at work. So what can you do when you don't really feel like it? Number one thing you can do is don't make yourself feel like it, but do your job anyway. Now, how many of you are at work right now, or you're doing something right now that you didn't really feel like doing it today, but you showed up anyway and did your job? You should be happy that you did that, because we call that discipline. If you're getting paid for it, we call that being a professional. Professionalism is showing up every day and delivering even when you don't feel like it. I saw some highlights from the NBA games the other night. It's at the end of the NBA season. Some of these players are playing on teams and ain't going to the playoffs. No matter what they do, no matter how hard they play, their team is not going to the playoffs. They putting all that effort in, and it's not going to, quote unquote, pay off. But they still got to show up and do their job because they're professionals. So even when you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Number 2 thing you can do is get yourself to the threshold and let human nature take over. As humans, one thing about us is that we have this completion mindset. When we start something, we want to complete it. So I don't know if any of you ever seen, if you look right here, you see this sign that says one way? Let's say that the N was missing or the Y was missing in one of those words, and somebody showed you the sign and said, what does that say? You would say one way, even though one of the letters was missing, because in our minds, we complete even when there's something missing. That's just a human thing, part of our wiring. It's the same thing with our actions. So any of you ever been in a situation, like I talked about this on my podcast, I was eating some candy. I had some Micronites, and there was 8 pieces left in the bag. I already eaten enough candy for the day. I didn't need any more candy, but I'm like, damn, there's only 8 pieces left. I might as well just finish it off. So I ate the last 8 pieces, not because I wanted more candy, but because of the completion mentality that we have as human beings. Once we start something, we want to finish it. So how you can make this work for you is you set yourself up with a routine on every day. This is what I do. This is how I get ready for the gym. This is how I get ready for work. This is how I get ready to sit at my computer and write my book or work on my blog or whatever it's going to be. You get all the steps in order. So lay your clothes out, have your computer ready, have your car keys near the door. Everything that you do, have that process in place. So even when you don't feel like it, just follow the process as normal, as your discipline is going to have you do anyway. And then when you get to the point where you have to make a decision, because none of those are decisions, you already have it set up, right? You have a structure in place. When you get to the point that you have to make a decision, it's easy to make that decision because you've already done the other 7 steps. There's only 1 step left. You might as well just complete it and finish it out. And as a human being, you probably will complete it and finish it out because we are wired to do this. The third thing you can do when you don't feel like it, make yourself feel like it in life, is remember the concept of the third day and the separation day. You don't know what the third day is, that means you haven't read my book, The Mirror of Motivation, yet, because I have a chapter on it, or you haven't read my book, Work on Your Game. It's a chapter on it in there as well. It's pretty important if I'm writing about it 2 different times in 2 different books. The whole concept of the third day is you showing up and giving your best effort, even when you don't feel like it. Even when you don't feel like showing up, even when you don't feel like doing the work. And every time you show up on the third day, you make yourself a little bit tougher, a little bit stronger, a little bit more of a professional. And if you plan on being a professional or staying a professional at what you do, you must master the third day, because there will be days where you don't feel like working. I don't care what kind of job you have, how great it looks from the outside. Pro athletes don't always feel like being at work. People who write books don't always feel like being at work. People who have their own businesses don't always feel like doing their businesses. Instagram influencers don't always feel like taking pictures. None of us always feels like being at work. So you must master the third day if you're going to be a professional at what you do. And the other thing about the third day is the concept of the separation day. The third day is about what you do with you looking in the mirror. Separation day is about how you showing up on the third day creates an advantage between you and everybody else who didn't show up. So if I show up on the third day and you don't show up on the third day, I create a little bit of separation between me and you because I showed up and you did not. So the third day is about me dealing with me. Separation day is about me dealing with you. So if you want to separate yourself from competition, I know we got a lot of competitors who listen to me. A lot of you are athletes. A lot of you in the business world. It's competitive whether you want it to be or not. So the third day and the separation day will help you separate yourself from the competition out there. So let me recap these 3 things you're going to do to make yourself feel like it even when you don't feel like it. Number 1, do it anyway, even though you don't feel like it. You've done this many times in life already. Number 2, set yourself up to finish the job by using the completion mindset, completion wiring that us human beings have. And number 3, master the third day and the separation day, or keep them in mind because it will help you separate from everybody else out there. If you don't have my book, The Mirror of Motivation, the subtitle is The Self-Guide to Self-Discipline, I would suggest you get it by going to the link down below. It's mirrorofmotivation.com. And I want you to text me. Text me right now and tell me the best thing you got from this video. Tell me what you're going to do different based on what I just told you. My number is 305-384-6894. 305-384-6894. Text me right now. Tell me the best thing you got from this vid and work on your game. Dre Baldwin.